Previously on Transformers University, we took a look at the Transformers phenomenon as it hit worldwide in 1985, and now in 1986 we continue that look. We head to the land of the rising sun and continue a look at the comic medium in Japan. Right now on the Transformers University. Hello, my friend, and welcome to Transformers University, episode number 60. I am your host, Anthony Brutali, owner, operator, madman behind TFU.INFO, the website, the figure archive, this podcast, social media, and more. And today, we are headed to Japan to talk a bit about the Transformers manga in the magazine Comic Bom Bom. Now, last time we talked about manga and Comic Bom Bom was way back in episode 28, and we actually covered the two big magazines that published manga of Transformers in Japan and will throughout its history, and that's our TV magazine and Comic Bom Bom. So we're going to split those up into separate episodes because they expand their scope and expand the amount of work they publish throughout the years. So last time around, I think each one only had one comic to speak of, and today we are talking about two mangas from Japan in 1986, and those would be Full Throttle Scramble Power and The Mystery of Convoy. So let's get right after it, and let's talk a little bit about Full Throttle Scramble Power. So if you want to check out a translated version of this manga, you can head on over to TFU.INFO.com. They have all the pages scanned and translated. And this one is written by Raita Kobe, penciled by Yoshihiro Morito, who is probably best known for writing and drawing a Microman manga, which is Micronauts here in the U.S., from 1976 through 1984. And inks on this one by Ban Megami, and actually we talked about him back in episode 28. He is also a very prolific Transformers penciler and artist whose work will be seen throughout the years of Transformers. So this story, Full Throttle Scramble Power, is set to be part of the promotion for the Scramble City line. And we start out by finding out that the Decepticons have a new weapon, the Omega Whip Cannon.
Ooh, let me have some of that Cool Whip. What'd you say? You can't have a pie without Cool Whip. Cool Whip? Cool Whip, yeah. You mean Cool Whip? Yeah, Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're saying it weird. Why are you putting so much emphasis on the H? What are you talking about? I'm just saying it. Cool Whip. You put Cool Whip on pie. Pie tastes better with Cool Whip. Say whip. Whip. Now say Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip.
So Hound and two human allies that we will meet for the first time, Toru and Jenny, go out to investigate. They leave the, quote, Autobot Battle Station Japan, which is Metroplex in city mode, and drive on out to Death Valley in the U.S. from Japan. Toru and Jenny both wear helmets that look like knights helmets, like medieval knights helmets with an Autobot symbol kind of wedged into the crest above their foreheads. But the face is wide open, but there's like an understrap under their chin. I don't quite understand it, but those are what they are. And while investigating in Death Valley, the team gets caught by the comic book version of a cartoonette. So the Decepticons attack a power plant after imprisoning Hound, Jenny, and Toru. They attack a power plant with the Stunticons. The Autobots send in the Aerialbots. The Aerialbots and Stunticons fight. The Aerialbots and Stunticons merge into their larger forms of Menasor and Superion. And then Megatron orders his Decepticons to fire the Omega Whip. He uses that cannon to shoot Superion, and Superion is suddenly losing. But the kids, they have a plan, And that plan is for Jenny to fiddle with this little transmitter she has in her back pocket and get caught by Starscream, which she then attaches to Starscream and uses it to exert hypnotic control over him, where he shuts down the energy bars to the jail cell and then fires his chest missiles on his fellow Decepticons and destroys the base. From here, the Autobots and Decepticons have a huge fight. Prime has Scramble City, aka Metroplex, fly in, and then transforms into his robot mode, which is then called Metroplex. Menasor and Superion continue to fight. Superion disengages Slingshot as he's fighting, and Slingshot transforms into robot mode and punches out Wild Rider off of Menasor, then transforms and takes his place. And this is very similar to what we saw in the Scramble City OVA. The aerial bots and Stunticons being able to cross-merge with one another, much like the toys can. He uses that to disable Menasor, which then Superion delivers a massive kick, knocking out Menasor. The Decepticons lose, retreat. Jenny and Toru celebrate by kissing. Prime catches them and embarrasses them because he tells them to stop that and is confused by what they are doing. And that is Full Throttle Scramble Power. It's an interesting book. This is one of those things I've never read before, never really encountered, other than kind of knowing somewhere in the back of my head that it existed. And I'd say definitely check it out. The art is really pretty. Some of the drawings, there's a lot of the early cast, the 84, the 85 characters. It's a great splash page at the end when the Autobots show up with Scramble City that has just about everyone from 84 and 85. And it's worth a look just for that alone. It's entirely in black and white. It'd be nice to see a fan maybe go out there, someone who's got some coloring skills, and digitally color this, because especially that splash page, because it is some pretty stuff. And that takes us to the manga released late in 1986 in December of that year, Mystery of Convoy. And now it was meant as a cross promotion with the Famicom video game of the same name. And for those of you who may not know what Famicom is, it was the Japanese version of the Nintendo Entertainment System. And so in Japan, and we'll be covering this in the next episode, they received a 8-bit Nintendo game called Mystery of Convoy. And this manga was kind of a companion piece to that, as best as I can tell. Now, it also included some character pages about the movie characters and the third season, along with a bit of a playthrough for the game, player's guide, if you will. And you can actually find all of the scans of this book on a website called TFRAW, that's TFRAW.blogspot.com. I tried to translate this a little bit using Google Translate on my phone. It did not work out well. So I'm going to just kind of go through what I was able to read from the page. The entire book has not been translated, so I don't think I'm going to try to translate it any further than I did, which was maybe about 4 pages. Instead, let's just go through what I'm pretty sure I was able to read into it, and some of the things that were a little odd to me. Now, if you go and read this at tfraw.blogspot.com, remember, these pages go right to left, so top to bottom, right to left. So that's helpful also when reading a manga that's not in English, so that you know the sequence of the page kind of goes in a different order. So it starts with a shot of the Autobot Institute, and there's some fallen humans and bots. There's a vault in what I translated into the Kenichi safe room, and we find out that Shockwave is stealing a canister and kidnapping a human. The Autobots decide to search an amusement park for the doctor, which I'm guessing is the person that was kidnapped. We see Prime, we see Jazz, we see Wheeljack and Prime, ends up finding a boy who's named Junichi Shunichi. And Prime sends in Ultra Magnus Jr. There's a junior on the page. He's certainly a smaller version of Ultra Magnus, and he is there to help Junichi Shunichi. And again, that name is the product of Google Translate, so if it's wrong, I do apologize. I'm pretty sure they enter into an igloo that says house on it, and I'm guessing it's some sort of fun house. In there, they fall through like some sort of circular spinny thing, and eventually find a door. This door leads to the desert, so they're not in a fun house. If my viewing of the Michael Bay films is correct, any door that leads to the desert must be in the Smithsonian. Ultra Magnus Jr. shoots a Decepticon he finds hiding in the sand, and according to TF Wiki, that Decepticon is Brawl. He then gets attacked by Seekers and Ravage and Rumble, the black and white one, and a bunch of Insecticons. He ends up blowing off Starscream's arm before blasting a hole straight through Starscream's midsection. For a kiddish comic in terms of art style, this one is pretty violent, and I think it's meant to exemplify the levels of the video game to some extent. Bumblebee arrives, and he flies Ultra Magnus Jr. out, and there's a mention of the word warp in here. So again, I think this is something to do with the game, or at least an early design of the game. Ultra Magnus Jr. then shoots Starscream between the eyes and continues to warp out with Bumblebee. He then arrives somewhere and is attacked by Laserbeak and a pair of Ratbats. Ultra Magnus Jr. then finds some sort of factory and is swarmed by ants, and he defeats them just in time for Megatron to arrive. Megatron and Magnus Jr. decide to have an 8 paces duel.
And now let's make that random call with today's $10,000 question. It's a tough one. Who shot Alexander Hamilton in that famous duel? All right, let's go to the phones and see who's out there.
Hello?
Hello, for $10,000, who shot... Excuse me?
The two bots turn and fire back and forth. Ultra Magnus loses one of his shoulder spires, but blows a hole clear through Megatron's chest. It turns out this igloo that they had gone through was atop of a rocket, which is then fired and launched into space, I guess. Ultra Magnus Jr. then has to fight Trypticon. He flies inside of Trypticon's mouth, blows him up from within, rescues the Doctor, and he and Junichi Shunichi return victorious. And that is the end of the mystery of Convoy Famicom tie-in comic. And as I mentioned earlier, there are also some character pages and some playthrough pages as well. And that will do it for this edition of Transformers University. If you want to help the show out, if you want to reach out to the show, here are all the ways you can do it. First, if you want to help the show directly, please join our Patreon, patreon.com/TFU.INFO, for as little as $1 US a month. You can help out the show and get access to this show at least one day early, and there's some other access you can get as you go further up the list, but $1 a month gets you into the Patreon and gets you to listen to the show at least 24 hours in advance of everyone else. Of course, you can help the site by using our Amazon links, TFU.INFO/Amazon. It'll take you to Amazon.com. You won't have to spend a cent more on anything, and anything you buy, Amazon kicks back a few cents to us. Finally, if you catch the show on iTunes, if you catch the show on Google Play or Stitcher or any of the other podcasting services, don't forget you can also watch the show anytime on YouTube, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TFU.INFO. So if you swing on by there, please subscribe and don't forget to ring the alert bell. Finally, if you want to reach out to me directly, come on by to Twitter. That's usually where I am, at TFU_info. It's the only one with the underscore. But I am on Twitter most frequently. So if you want to reach out to me, tell me you like the show, tell me you hate the show. That's cool. Come on by Twitter and drop me a line. Also, you can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/TFU.INFO, Instagram.com/TFU.INFO. Those two sites plus Twitter, you can always find our daily deskbot. That's #DESKBOT, where I try to do it daily. Sometimes I'm not as successful as others, but I post a photo of a Transformer that I've taken to work with me, or if I'm working from home, on my desk in front of me. Finally, do not forget the website, www.tfu.info, the world's longest running transforming toy archive. You can always catch me on email there at info@tfu.info. And please use the site, enjoy the site. It's been around for many years, and I hope you do like the work that's put into that. So, with the Comic Bom Bom stuff wrapped up for this episode, next issue we're going to tie back to this Mystery of Convoy comic by talking about video games in 1986, and that includes the Mystery of Convoy Famicom game. So please make sure you stick around for episode 61 of Transformers University. Until next time, I am your host, Anthony Bricali, owner, operator, madman behind TFU.info. See ya.